Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Your Fab Life. Today, we have the pleasure of interviewing the Megan Good. She has a lot of adjectives in front of her. She's an actress, she's an entrepreneur, she's a new wife. She's a lot of things, but she's the Megan Good to me. And today, we'll be talking about how to live a well-balanced life and how it can actually improve your brand. So, with no further ado, first of all, thank you for joining us. You have a lot of fans that are a part of our platform. So,
Thank you for having me.
yes, 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 yes. Okay, so, your journey in Hollywood started when you were a child. Some people start as an adult, you started as a child. So, I'll be interested to hear how you answer this question. Do you think you chose your path, your professional path, or do you think you chose it?
Well, it's interesting because for me, when I started out, it was more of just a hobby. I grew up in a predominantly white neighborhood in the 80s. So there was a lot of racism, a lot of name calling, a lot of feeling a bit ostracized and like I didn't quite fit in where I was growing up. So for me, everyone else went to dance class or soccer practice or whatever it was, or dance team, and I went to auditions and then ultimately, would work whenever I got a job. And so that was something that I asked my mom to do and something that I wanted to pursue. And then I think about maybe around 11 or 12 was the first time that I didn't have a work permit that year and I couldn't work. And so I had a whole year off and I really thought about it. And I was like, is this what I really, really want to do? Or is this just what I feel like I should do? I was like, I don't know, but I missed it so much. So I was like, no, I definitely want to do this. And then again, when I was 19, was the first time where I was kind of in this weird stage of transitioning from child actor to adult, being 19 but still looking 13, and really struggling to kind of work and for people to figure out where to put me. And it was the first time that I was like, I never even asked God if this is what God has for me. Am I just pursuing this, or is this where I'm supposed to be? And so it was the first time I kind of just went, you know what? Or not kind of, I just went, Lord, I'm laying it on the altar. I'm giving it to you. You know that I want to do it, but I want what you want from me more than what I think that I want from myself. So
Mhm.
you tell me and you make it plain and you let me know. And even if it's not this, whatever it is you want me to do, I'll go pursue that. Even if I'm not ecstatic at first, because I trust that you know better than I do.
Yes. Hmm.
And that was the first time that I got confirmation that this is exactly where I'm supposed to be, but it's not really about me. And that it's
Hmm.
bigger than me, and it's about using the platform that God has so graciously given me, And so, yeah. So I would say that both. It's
So,
where I'm supposed to be, but it's also something that I chose, and I think I chose it, and the passion was there because God put it there.
well, I will say it's in God's will. And sometimes people don't want to hear that part because they're like, well, I want it to be in his will. I'm like, it may not be, like
Right.
it'll flow when it's in God's will.
Yeah.
Well, at what point, because like you said, you kind of revisited it when you turned 19 and you were transitioning. The first movie I saw, I think, was probably Eve's Bio, which is probably
Mhm.
my favorite movie from me. Because I'm like, how did
Thank
she?
you.
I'm like, how did she? I'm like, even just you being able to. I mean, the, to me, you were so. It was like you're so advanced. I was like,
Thank
for her to be so young and be able to play this type, it was a very serious role. I was like,
you.
wow. So I was like, well, she can do this. She could probably do anything because I always felt like that role was like so serious. And for you to be able to achieve that at such a young age, I was like, oh yeah, she'll probably be able to do anything. But at what point did you think it started to shape your identity? Because it's like, oh yeah, this is Megan Good, the actress. Is there a time where like maybe there was a certain experience or some movie came out and you were like, yeah, this is what I'm gonna be known as? Like,
What's interesting is I'd like to think that it hasn't shaped my identity, and
interesting.
and
Okay.
that who I am is separate from it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think as I've gotten older, I've realized that that's not true. I think I'm very cautious and conscious of being in this business. When I did Eve's Bayou, that I was 14, that was 30 years ago. And so I've lived several lifetimes in this industry and,
Yeah.
and in this job and
Yeah.
all of that.
Right.
And one of the things I learned along the way is if it becomes my identity, then it controls me. It decides if
Mm,
I have a good day or a bad day. It decides if I'm worthy or not. It decides if I'm
mm,
good enough or talented enough or pretty enough or this or that or this. So I was always my mom was very conscious about embedding that in me. And my acting coach, Carnetta Jones, who I worked with for, a number of years, they were very thoughtful about, don't let this become your identity. Let this be what you do for a living. It's what you do, but not who you are. And then I think that has kind of really saved my soul and my life and everything in so many ways, because I definitely could have been the bad wild child, especially being a hard-headed Leo, which has worked in my favor because it was flipped on its head and given direction versus being as destructive as it could have been. Um, but now, as I've gotten older and I've never had any other job my entire life, I've always been Megan Good, the actress. I realize that it is a part of my identity, but I try not to use the idea of like, success by anybody else's standards as part of that identity, but more so like, this is what I do as an actress, but I I intentionally want to use my platform for God's will. I intentionally want to use my platform to help other women to be candid and honest and transparent about things that I've experienced, that I know that they've experienced, so that they know that they're not alone. Not only are they not alone, they're more powerful, they're stronger simply because of the worst day, and they have the ability to pour into and to speak life over other women because of what they've been through, and just understanding that there is the actress part of it, but it's more the brand and the identity of the human being who happens to be an actress,
mhm.
instead of vice versa.
Yeah, I love that. And it's so funny because probably you meet a million people, so you're not gonna remember this. But I met you a million years ago, probably maybe you were in your early 20s. I was in law school in New York. You were at like a club of parents, and they were just like all
Mhm.
these people like rushing in. And some guy like pushed me. And I was like, I can't believe this guy just like pushed a woman. And so later that night, I met you and I spoke with you a little bit. I was like, you know what? I can't believe this. You were like, security, like, find that person. Like, and I was like, you know, she did not have to do that. And ever since that, I mean, that was obviously many, many, many years ago. It was probably like 2009, 2010. But
Wow.
I always felt like, even if I've seen you in passing in some Hollywood events and things, like you are just such a kind, good person. And I was
Mm.
like, her last name is so fitting. Like she really is good. Like Megan Good is really good. I've never heard anything bad about you. I've never heard anybody say anything bad about you. And to be in this industry this long and no one really have anything bad to say about you, I think that speaks personally for itself personally.
Thank
Um,
you.
and so when I actually ran into Megan, CBC, Congressional Black Caucus, Jasmine Carpet's panel. She did an amazing job. We have a couple of clips on my other page, my Black Lawyers podcast page, because we've interviewed Jasmine Carpet a couple of times. So
Jazzy
definitely check that.
Jazz.
Yeah, definitely check out Megan's comments on the panel. We have a couple of clips of her speaking from that panel. But when I ran into you again, I was like, oh, I have to bring you over to my women's platform. Like everybody would love this. So thank you again for being here.
Thanks for having me. And I remember, I don't remember particularly that night, but I never forget faces. And I don't always know where. I never forget faces. I never forget energy. I never forget what someone looks like, and also how they made me feel, or
Oh,
how they
I
read,
love
you
that.
know. So,
I love
so when I
that.
saw you, that's why I was like, "Nice to see you, girl." And you were like, "Thanks for being here." I was like, "Wait, I'm pretty sure we've met before."
Yeah,
But
yeah, we've definitely met before for sure. What would you say is your favorite part of your kind of path, like acting, and then like what's the most difficult part?
my favorite part creatively is to tap into something unexpected and to feel magic happen.
Hmm.
Um, because you can't really plan or rehearse for that. You just only can create
Hmm.
the space for that.
Right.
That's creatively, and then as a actress, like as an entity, I don't know if that's the right word, but
Hmm.
to make someone's day. Like for
Okay.
someone to be like, "Oh my God, you made my day," and like give them a hug and feel that they meant that, And
Mhm.
like, it's not that it's about me, but I'm like thankful to be able to be usable to do that. I'm like, really? That makes my day to know that I could
Mhm.
make someone else's day. And so
Mhm.
there's that. And then I think the hard stuff is, as a talent, um, people putting you in a box. You know,
Mm. Mhm.
I remember like getting Harlem, and Tracy Oliver, who's like my sister now. I remember going in and meeting on that project, and just kind of thinking like, oh, we had a great meeting, and I thought I had the project. I thought that was why we were meeting. And weeks went by, and I didn't hear anything. And I was like, what's going on? They're like, oh, they're auditioning Camille's, and I was like, they're auditioning people for the role I met on. And I was like, well, I thought I had it. They were like, yeah, they're just, in essence, they're not sure if you can be funny. And I was like, that's so interesting, because a lot of people, they have thought of me as like, oh, the child actor. And then through her 20s, like she was like the sexy vixen or whatever. And then through her 30s, it was like trying to really kind of recreate myself and be like more of like the tough guy and do more police stuff, more action, blah, blah. And in this season, I was like, of everything, I am the corniest, awkwardest goofball of life. And I have a certain brand of comedy that is unique to me that I've always been really afraid of. And I was like, you know what, I just gotta, it would be the one most wonderful thing in the world to change someone's mind, who decides, not that Tracy was, but folks in general who may say, oh, well, I think I know what she does. It's like, no, I do lots of different things. And in every season, we all have and deserve the right to recreate and to show all the other things that are inside of us, because we're so multifaceted and just all of that. So creatively, to be put in a box can be frustrating, but it's also really wonderful to surprise people after so many years. And then, oh, you're muted, still muted.
Yeah, I was saying
Okay.
that you've done Harlem, you've done, I mean, you were superhero. I mean, yeah, I would say probably in the last 5 or 10 years, yeah, I've definitely noticed you kind of like kick open that box. Like, I could do other things. Like, you could cast me for other things. You've been, from an outsider looking in, you can tell it's been really intentional that you've done that. So I think, for someone that's, again, watched you since Eve's Value, like for people that have been with you from the beginning in terms of watching it, it is refreshing to see that you have faith in yourself, and the people that you're working with have faith to cast you in these
Thank
roles. Speaking of, working with people and them having faith in you, is there any particular mentor, and it doesn't necessarily have to be acting, but someone that, or, persons that have kind of been your go-to? Because like you said, you are an actress, but you're an entrepreneur, you're other things. So has there been someone primarily you're like, all right, this is kind of like
gosh.
a go-to person?
Yeah, there's a few of them. My godfather was Jim Brown, and
Hmm.
Jim was definitely a huge mentor in my life since I was about 15. He's
Hmm.
really where I get the spirit of activism from, the spirit of being unapologetically exactly who I am and saying what I
Hmm.
need to say when I feel led to say it.
Hmm.
um and part of that is Monique Brown. She is like my sister mom. And so like we're very, very close, and she's very, very special to me, and she's someone that pours into me and speaks life over me that I can bounce things off of, and go to is someone who's a little bit older than me, who has lived many lifetimes as well. Tasha Smith, who's like a big sister to me.
Hmm.
And then of course my older sisters, the Maya and my
Hmm.
mom, and I mean, I have like my friends and family, but like in terms of like people who are a little bit more of like mentors, I would say both mentors and family, probably Tasha and Monique.
Hmm. What are you most proud of so far with your career, just overall? Is there something that's
Mm.
like, wow, I did that?
Um, Sometimes I feel like that when I watch Harlem,
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
it was such a unique vehicle with women of all different facets that weren't caricatures, that weren't,
Hmm.
you know, it just is a show that I'm very, very proud of.
Hmm.
Um, I think overall longevity,
Hmm.
and for someone to say something like, I've never heard anything bad about you. I've only heard good things about you. Like that to me, I value.
Hmm.
Um, And I think in terms of like material wise, like I could say lots of things like with, deception. I was the second black woman in history to lead a TV show on NBC after Diane Carroll in 30 years. Or like with Shazam, there wasn't really any like outside of Hallie and Storm, as Storm, there was no representation really as black women uh, for before the first Shazam came out for young black girls to see themselves, like young brown skinned black girls to just see
Mhm,
um, the idea of like maybe I could be a superhero, and
mhm.
so anyway, I think partially there's things that I've done that I'm thankful and I cherish, but I also feel like the best is yet to come. I feel like it hasn't even started yet, which is kind of really exciting to feel like a veteran and then also feel like I'm just beginning. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
I love that. I love that. What piece of advice would you have someone pursuing? Because I mean, acting, I tell people all the time, acting, dancing, modeling, there are only a few that they let in, unfortunately. Like not
Right.
everyone, some people do this for years and they never land. What would be your advice for someone that is maybe they've done some things, maybe locally, things like
Mhm.
that, but they're really pursuing it hard. What would be your advice to them?
Mm. Uh, Ask yourself why first. With zero judgment, just why. Why do you want to do it? Because that's going to be a part of your guiding light, and that's going to be what keeps your sanity and what keeps your spirit in check. Um, I respect everyone's belief system, but for me, I'm like, ask God. Because if God says yes, then there's nothing anyone else can say. As much rejection, as much people who don't believe in you, as much you see somebody else get an opportunity and you feel like whatever it is, if God says yes, then you know that you know that you know that you know that you are going to win by the standards that are between you and God. Um, and it also will keep your sanity, protect your spirit, keep your mental health, all of that. And then I would say, don't do the minimum, do the maximum,
Mhm,
and don't just do it for the goal, do it for the edification of you growing, and you bettering yourself and the goals that you have. Uh, don't compete. There's nobody
mhm,
else in the world like you. There's nobody in the
mhm,
world like you. And also,
mhm,
you're not like anyone else. So there is no one to compete with. It's only the better version of yourself every day. And it sounds cliche, but when you walk into a room with something is someone else's, you can't take it from them. And when something is yours, they can't take it from you. And actually, along the journey, what is healing for us, what blesses us, is when we celebrate each other and we love each other, when we root each other on, and we just do the best that we can do, and everything will fall into place the way that it's supposed to. But a part of that journey is the camaraderie and the understanding and the ways that we're all actually connected. You know how we create a path for others just by default. So.
That's amazing. Um, you mentioned wellness, and this episode is about wellness and how you tie it to your brand. And obviously, we'll talk about honor culture in a few seconds. But as women, and I'm always saying men like, oh, all you guys have to do is like, just like get a haircut. Like I feel like women have to do so. I feel like women
Lord have
have to do
mercy.
so much with like
Mm.
keeping themselves with the way
Get
they
a
look,
hair,
and
they
then
get these nails.
career, then if you have family, it's just
Yeah.
it just seems like women just typically have to, it seems like we're even expected at some level to wear so many hats.
Yeah.
And so you've been married now, divorced, married again, now to
Mhm.
Mr.
Mhm.
Majors. And so how do you think that's impacted? Because I mean, if no one knew who you were, I guess no one would know, right? But it's like if you get married, if you get divorced, everybody wants to know, right? So how
Mhm.
do you think marriage and divorce has impacted your career at all, if any?
Oh, career? I don't know. I think I think perception of
Mm-hmm.
how people perceive me, and I think that can connect to career, especially when you're
Mm-hmm.
dealing with us.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I think in the beginning, when I was married before, it felt like there was a lot of like, oh, well, maybe she's not this, or maybe she's not that, or maybe
Oh,
she's
I
more
see.
this, or maybe she's more that. Um,
Mhm.
and so in some arenas more respect, and in some arenas more judgment.
Mm,
But I mean, it doesn't really matter because that's authentically who you are in that season. And so moving forward in
right.
that way, it's going to be what it's going to be. And then going through divorce, I think there was a lot of like, well, she must have done something wrong. And then other people were like, well, don't come for her, And then there's like a lot of like genuine
Yeah,
support.
yeah, for
And then
sure.
there's also a lot of like genuine judgment.
Yeah.
And what's wonderful about that is I was in such a season of freeing myself from any judgment and any care of what anyone thinks, and only concerned with what God thinks and knows and says, that all of that healing and all of that work and all the things that I've learned throughout the process, because even going through the divorce was a blessing, because it brought me into a deeper relationship with God, even though I was in a very deep relationship with God. Like if God's telling me something, somebody can come prophesy to me, and I'm like, no, that's not what the Lord is saying. Like I can feel it, I can discern it without a doubt. This going through divorce brought me into an even deeper place because at that time it was so devastating for me that it shook my faith to a place of questioning God in a way that I had never before, and realizing how religious I was about some things that I didn't realize I was religious about. I was like, I am extremely liberal. And like, and like I hear what God's saying, so I have peace regardless. But I was religious against myself in some ways and religious against some mentalities, which is fine for some, except for when it's stopping you from really getting to know God, when you're really focusing on um, what everyone is telling you is supposed to be versus, Lord, what do you say? And what God says will always line up with what's supposed to be, but it may not look or sound the way that we think it should. Um, so I think for me, I'm just really grateful for all of the journey, because I think that not only has it impacted the individual in every way, but the way that I would say that it's impacted my career is just that I've grown as a person. I know love in a different way. I know myself in a different way. I know God in a different way. It transitioned me to being ready to be a mom. It showed me how to love in a different way. It showed me what was necessary for me. Made me stronger. So anyway, all those things I'm able to put into every character and into everything that I do. So in that way, I think it's
Mm,
impacted me.
okay. Yeah. Well, I think you kind of answered my next question because I was going to say there's always this debate about is marriage and having kids, is it better to do it kind of like in your 20s and your 30s versus 40s? Because there are a lot of
Right.
women that are, I mean, this is your second marriage, but for some people, it's maybe their first marriage and they're just
Right.
having kids, everything. So, I mean, do you think it would have probably looked a lot differently if you had did it before versus how you're doing it now?
Yeah, I do. I mean, everyone's different.
Mhm.
Looking back, I don't think I even realized how young 30 was.
Mhm.
It's like you
Still
think
young.
30 is older, and then you
Yeah.
get there, and then you get to 35 and you're like, "Oh, I'm such a baby. I didn't even know it." Then you get to 40, you're like, "Oh, you were such a baby. You had no idea." And now I'm 44 and I'm like, that's so crazy. I acknowledge that there's going to be a big transition between now and 45, and between 45 and 50.
Mhm.
And I think I'm really and I don't know if it's because I grew up in this industry, and because in
Right.
some ways you don't have a certain amount of childhood. And so you
Mhm.
not able to cultivate that until you get a little bit older or whatever it may be. But I know the rest that I have now, like I'd be so happy to just spend time with my husband and just to be on the couch and like not see or talk to no one, even people I love. I'd just be so happy. And I've never felt that kind of contentment before, and that's nothing against my
Right, right,
ex-husband, but
right.
I'm just in a completely different space.
Yeah.
And before, I think I felt, like you gotta go out and experience life and like, do this and travel and this is that. And if you have a kid right now, then like That's got to be the priority. So that's going to tie
Yeah.
you down. And it's like now at 44, I'm like, well, no, it's not going to tie me down. I'm going to strap that little one to the front of me,
Right. You
to the
coming to
back of
set
me.
with me.
Jonathan going to strip him to the front, to the back. We going to do that. We going to Lisbon this year. We going to be there for the, whatever month or whatever, staying in a
Yeah,
tiny cottage that don't cost no money, going and walking and getting bread barefoot.
absolutely.
That's the life that I want. And that's the life that he wants. And that's the life that I realize now
Right.
at this in this junction. I can do all that better as a mom, and I can do
Yeah.
all that better as a 44-year-old, and it's just really exciting. It's like a
Yeah,
whole
no.
another chapter for
Like
real,
you said,
for
it's a
real.
whole another chapter. Well, we're as fans, we're definitely looking forward to that next chapter for you.
Thank
How
you.
would you then define success? Because I know, because sometimes my mom will be like, I'll never forget. She said this a couple. She's like, "Stop talking about me in your interviews." I can hear her saying this now, but
Yeah.
she was like doing a million different things, and she literally said, "I just want you to have a normal life." And
Mhm.
she didn't say it like, I don't think she was coming from like a bad place. I
Yeah,
just
yeah, of
think,
course.
everyone defines like success differently. Some people
Yeah.
are like, if you're already married and you have the kid and you have the job that pays you every 2 weeks or whatever, like that's success. If you have the wife and the
Hmm.
kids, so sometimes I think myself and even probably people that are listening to this is just like struggling to be okay with what their definition of success is. So what is your
That's
definition? It's
strong.
such a struggle. Yeah.
Well, it's a struggle because we're taught by people we love, who were
Mhm.
taught by people who love them, who are taught by people who love them, uh, ideas of what it should be. And most of those ideas are wrapped up in protection and safety and um, what we think we want for ourselves or what we know we want for ourselves or whatever it is. To me, my idea of success is peace. That's it. That's it. And peace is redefined in different seasons of life. Sometimes peace is being single. Sometimes peace is backpacking and going from couch to couch. Sometimes peace is, you know, uh, dating someone for 5 years when you could have got married in 2, but you want to date for 5, because you want to grow with yourself before you make a certain type of commitment. Whatever it is, sometimes peace is leaving a big movie and going and working on a soap opera. And people are like, "What are you doing?" It's like, I'm doing what feeds my spirit. It doesn't have to make sense to you or to anyone else. And I think that that is hard, but one of the things I think we realize, especially as we get older, is it doesn't matter what anyone thinks. And the more that we live our lives that way, the more that we have things that aren't even bad things, sometimes things that love us very much, pushing and pulling the boundaries of who and what the fullness of our lives should be. And I think when we get free enough to make the choices and say, no, this is what I want, this is what I don't want. And you know what? This is what I thought I want, and I don't want that anymore. Or this is what I definitely wanted then, and now I want something different. Whatever it is, being unapologetic about that, as long as we are kind and loving and good to other people from our heart, even if that other person may not view it that way in that moment. You get mad at your homegirl and she's like, something, you got to tell her the truth. And she's like, well, that actually hurt me. And it's like, but it's still the truth. And I still love you. Whatever that looks like. I think we will find that we've wasted a lot of really beautiful, precious time in a place that we will come to know ultimately. And we'll just wish that we came to know it a little bit sooner so that we could have enjoyed it a lot longer. And I've just made a conscious decision that, I don't know, God forbid, how much time any of us have, but I'm going to enjoy my time. It's going to be me and God, whatever it's going to be. And I can't worry about anything or anyone else except for what God puts on my heart and puts on my plate. And that is the most freeing, most incredible place I never even thought I could get close to. Like 5 years ago, there's no way.
I'm working on it. I love that definition that you started off with peace. I'm working on it because that for me,
Peace.
like you said, you want to, respect and honor your parents and what they think you should have
Yeah.
and all that stuff. But it ultimately, like you said, this is your life you have to live. We don't know what our,
Yeah.
They say no man knows the hour, right? We don't know the hour, like
You
we don't know
don't.
what our last day is. So yeah, I definitely think starting in a place of peace, which leads to the second half of the interview, which we just want to talk about some of that peace and that wellness that you mentioned. We know that you recently launched Honor Culture with your husband, actor Jonathan Majors, which is super exciting. Now, some people have obviously already seen it and supported you. If you haven't yet, definitely you should support their brand. Tell us how, like, how you kind of all brought it together, because to me it's like
Yeah.
wellness, it's faith. I mean, it's clothes, so it's style. So you kind of just like
Yeah.
it's like this melting pot of stuff, and how it kind
Yeah.
of all impacted in terms of your brand's mission.
Um, well, it's interesting because for us, it's become legacy, and not legacy in the spirit of like, this is how we want to be remembered, but more like, this is what we want to leave behind.
Okay.
And I've always been a person who off and on, I'll work out. I'll go through my those seasons where I'm like, I'm not touching nobody's gym. Don't even ask me about it. And then other seasons where I'm just hardcore, just focus, 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 and
Mhm.
really disciplined. And Jonathan is all discipline, in a way that's really it's really incredible. Um,
Well, when you look at him, it's undeniable. It's
but
like
it's
there's
absolutely
no
undeniable.
way you can have that shape and not be
Yeah,
just. There's just no
yeah.
way.
Yeah, there's not. I mean, his body's incredible. Like this kid, and but he, more importantly, it's not just how it shows up physically; it's how it shows up mentally
Mhm.
and spiritually, and all the things that he does to intentionally grow and work on himself.
Mhm.
Is really really inspiring, and how they come together. But how this kind of the genesis of this was when Jonathan was going through everything that he was going through. You
Mhm.
know, he was going to the gym every morning 4 a.m. and that became one friend, and one friend became three friends, and three friends became seven friends, and it became a community and a safe knit community where you can work out all those things that are going on inside in a different way within this kind of like brotherhood and this family. um, and when I started to come around 10, I realized that the type of workouts that he was doing, there were moments where I just felt so overwhelmed and I just bust out crying. And I couldn't stop crying. And I realized that something was released off of me, spiritually, through physicality. I could physically feel something come off of me that needed to come off me, that had been there for however long it had been there, that I could not get out with just praying or therapy or resting or meditate or anything like that. And I also believe that the spiritual aspect of that, that's why God, when we do baptism or when we do certain things, God knows that we as human beings need some type of ceremony around it in order for us to understand and for it to connect here sometimes. And so what I found was healing starting to take place in a way that was physical. But it was emotional and mental and spiritual healing. And then my body started transforming. And part of that transforming was not just the work I was doing, it was what was going on inside. So my sister started coming, my best friend started coming, her husband started coming, Monique started coming, Eris and Morgan. And the next thing you know, there's about 25 of us. And everybody's going through something different. As this was going on, this was around when Jim passed away. My best friend was working to get pregnant. My brother-in-law just lost his mother-in-law the year before. Everybody was going through something unique and specific in their lives, and there was not the space to hold for it. And everybody had work, poor, this, that, da 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 da. So this space created a massive amount of healing and a massive amount of lifting things off of us. And we were like, oh, there's something here. And God is intentional about this because we would not have had time to do this if what was going on in our lives wasn't going on. It was our safe place of refuge, and it was very intentional, and something was being born out of it. And so we started talking about just honoring each other and the culture of honoring each other. And then that became, how we show up and blah, 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 and the family, da, da, da. And then we started building this app, which will come out next year. And then we started talking about, how it is we dress and how we show up and like our armor, in essence. And that's where the apparel started to come out of. And so yeah, it's just kind of taken on a life of its own, but a very, very intentional one, and one that we were like, how do we bottle this up and share it with people, because it's so transitional and so healing, that if we could share it with other people, we believe that it would do the same thing for them. And that's what it's been doing. Even the talk around the culture of what it means to honor each
Mhm.
other and to honor yourself. And there's no competing with anyone else. Is how do I honor being the best version of myself, the version that I know that I can come to, and then also knowing that there's more that I'm not even aware of that I can come to, and honoring that in myself because I deserve that, you know, and you deserve that. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. So here we are, and it's one of those things where it's like, no matter what we do as actors, or him as an author, or me as a director, whatever it is, we want to be in this kind of shape, 50, 60, 70, 80 years old, running around with our kids, living a lifestyle that allows us to have the full benefit of the life that God has given us, for the time that we're here. So yeah, it's really exciting, and
Yeah, no, I love how it all comes together. And I know, like, I think what's important, what you just said, a lifestyle, right? This is
yeah.
truly a lifestyle. What would you say are you and Jonathan's, like, what you guys do not compromise on as it relates to like your health, your
Yeah.
wellness, and all of that? What are your, like, okay, like we have to do this, like non-negotiables?
Well, much to my dismay at first, working out Monday through Friday. But I mean, he does Sunday too.
Mhm.
But we take off Saturday, and that's like our date day and like our download with each other and just really rest. Because that one will not rest. And I'm like, no, you need to rest. Go sit down. Um, and so I think the non-negotiables is just like, falling off. Like if we do fall off, then you get back up and you get back on. You don't make a big thing of it, just move forward, but just consistently getting back on, and knowing that it's a part of, like I said, the lifestyle and who we want to be and how we want to take care of ourselves. So just being consistent with that and not letting that go. And then if we ever do let it go, just saying, okay, you let it go in that moment. Let's get back on it. This is what I want forever.
I
So
definitely think it helps that you have an accountability partner, and I even say that with working out. It's always better to do it with at least one other person. That definitely helps stick to like what you're going to do versus what you're not going to do. Because if someone say, "Well, but didn't you say? And are we going to do
yeah,
this?" Because yes, you
yeah.
can hold yourself accountable, but I always think it's great if it's not a husband, a boyfriend, a friend, a partner. That's helpful. What would you say? Because this is a woman's professional podcast, women that are entrepreneurs, women that are in entertainment and media, all the fields, right? Listening to this, what would be like a wellness checkpoint that you would create for someone that's just balancing a lot? Because it's like you said, you got to get to the gym, you got to maybe
Hmm.
pick up the kids, you got to go to work. Like you said, you're being pulled in so many different ways. So, what is an idea of a wellness checkpoint where someone can kind of like stop, like stop maybe in the middle of their day and do something, whether it be breathing, like what would a
Yeah.
checkpoint look like for someone that really has something really demanding going on?
Yeah, I was listening to this thing the other day where it talked about uh something like and it could be for yourself or it could be with a
Okay.
friend, but it's something like it takes 8 minutes to connect with someone and to feel in your spirit like seen, heard, and present. And so I would say taking 8 minutes every day, whether you're checking in with someone else who's also going to check in with you in those 8 minutes, or you're just checking in with yourself and just asking yourself, how's my heart? How's my heart today? And just being present. And instead of thinking about everything like this is what has to happen this entire week, or this is the things that are going on this month, this is what's happening today. This is me today. This is the day that I'm promised. This is the day that I'm present with my children. I'm present with my husband. I'm present with myself. I'm present with my best friend. Whatever it is, this is the day that I am absolutely living in, and I want to be present with it, and I want to make sure that it's the best day that I can create it to be, even if it has shitty moments, and be intentional about creating that space for myself. And then I think again those 8 minutes, and I'm finding myself getting an opportunity to do that, and I've been finding myself being more intentional about just saying, okay, how do I just go, okay, how are you feeling today? How's your heart? How's your spirit?
Mhm,
What are the things that you're really thinking or you're really feeling that have got nothing to do with, you know what I'm saying? And just
mhm,
doing that for myself because I think that we get so busy in the doing that we
mhm,
forget what the real check-in is.
mhm.
So,
Yeah, yeah, I know for me, sometimes I'm like, I feel like my day, there's a slot, I look at, sometimes I open up my phone, I look at my
mm,
calendar for the day. I'm like, there is not a slot in here where there's just like a break. So I try to create these self-imposed breaks. So I love the idea of
mhm.
the 8 minute thing, checking in and checking up with someone that will do that with you. I think that's great. Where do you see yourself at this point, profession versus? I think you kind of gave us a little hint. I know you want to become a mom. You're already, you're a wife. You're now Miss Good
Yeah.
Majors. You're majors now. So,
Yeah.
um, what do you see? Because it's like at this point, like you said, it's so funny. You've been doing it for so long, but it almost
Yeah.
feels like you're just getting started because you're in such a different
Yeah.
place in your life. So, what
Yeah.
other type of like movies and things like do you see yourself doing more like still sticking with movies? Because Harlem was a show, which we don't typically
Yeah.
see in shows. We see films. So, do you see yourself doing more shows, or do you think you'll stick to film because
Mhm.
it's kind of like one and done? You can kind of get it done and jump out of it.
It's both. I like both. The reason
Mhm.
that I hadn't done a lot of TV before is because it's such a big commitment,
It
and I'm
is.
and I'm a bit of a hippie
Mhm,
and a nomad. I like to not know where I'm going to be or what character I'm
mhm,
going to play or how I'm
mhm,
going to be there or any of those things. I really don't always like to know what's coming around the corner. I really like to just be surprised and go with the flow.
mhm,
And with TV, you don't get to do that as much.
mhm,
But one of the things I really loved about Harlem is that I felt that I was able to do that with that character and with that world because there were so many things happening that you just didn't know what to expect. I had no idea my character was going to be pregnant. So, but I think that it's really about finding the right things that I'm excited about, that I'm excited to be there, and where I'm able to just give of myself to others and take in. And it could be movie, it could be film, it could be anything. But one thing I know for sure is it will be a lot of directing. I love directing,
okay, okay.
and if that
Behind the
space isn't
camera.
created, yeah, if that space isn't created for me, I like to create it for others. So
I love that. Okay, well, we'll definitely be keeping out for what you're going to be directing. Is there any particular person you haven't worked with just yet? It could be another actor, a producer, or director. Like, I don't know if
gotcha.
actors and actresses have like bucket lists of like, I would love to do a movie or a film or something. Is there
Hallie,
anybody, Hallie? Oh,
I want to
yeah.
work with Haley. Halle
Yes. Yeah,
Berry.
what I just realized, you've been in so much stuff. Yeah, you're right. You haven't. You haven't done anything
Yeah,
with her.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I just
yeah.
love
That
her.
would,
I just love her as a human being, and just
yeah,
she's
she's
just
another one who
kind.
just
Love
exudes,
her.
like outside of just being an actress, just who she is. I feel like exudes. So you
Yes, and
guys
supports
definitely.
and covers and wants to see other people win. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Hmm.
I love
Yeah, definitely. You guys have that in common. You guys exude
her.
all that positivity in real life, just like outside of like your roles. Okay, well, we're gonna close out with some fun questions.
Okay.
Favorite we'll start off with favorite designer, favorite makeup brand, like things that you like your go-to's designer, your go-to makeup brand.
Favorite designer, honor culture. No, I'm just playing. I love honor culture clearly, but I would say, hmm, what do I wear a lot of?
When your stylist are pulling looks, is there like a go-to of someone that they
That's
love to go to?
that's tough.
Mhm,
I mean, I honestly I love a little bit of everything, but
mhm.
oh, I gotta think on that one.
That's
I
our okay. What about favorite like makeup brand? Is there a makeup? I mean, your skin is so beautiful even without
thank
makeup, but is
you.
there a makeup that you like a go-to?
Well, I love a good. I'm here for a good contour,
Okay.
and a good concealer. I like NARS concealer.
Mhm,
Um, I gotta look at what this tinted moisturizer it is because
mhm,
it's the bomb and it's just so
mhm.
clean. Oh, Ilia. I think it's
Okay.
called Ilia. I just like their products because they're super, super clean. They've got no chemicals in them, like all natural, blah blah blah. And they have a pressed powder. It's like a loose powder that absorbs oil that I live for.
Okay, okay. And then
And
speaking of,
Tarte for the
and
brows,
then
sorry.
tired of the brows. And then speaking of skin, I mean, again, can't always wear makeup. Always you have to have something good underneath. You can't just throw makeup on. So what do you typically use in your skincare routine?
Sylvana Skincare. I love her stuff. She is a facialist out here in LA. She makes everything natural, her own products, and you can buy them online, and they're just incredible and just really, really clean. And I had a friend that was really going through bad adult acne like her entire life, and went to her, and in 2 weeks her skin was completely clear. And I was like, there's no way. And yeah, so Sylvana and maybe two other people are the only people I've ever let do facials on me in my entire life. And Sylvana was the first one and the only person I go to consistently because I was just like, hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But she actually makes it better. And so, yeah, that's who I
Yeah,
typically
great.
use.
And then what about hair? Because sometimes you have like your locks, sometimes you do it
Yeah,
short. Like I feel like you do every style really
I
well.
do.
Yeah. What is your
Oh,
kind of
thank
like,
you.
yeah, what type of in terms of like hair care, what do you use in terms of your hair?
Mm. This is gonna sound crazy. I like
Okay.
my own wraps, my good
Okay.
girl wraps,
Okay. Plug it,
because
look, plug the products.
listen, but mainly because they don't pull on my edges,
Yeah,
and they
that's a big thing.
don't
Yeah.
come off while I'm asleep at night.
Mhm.
And I don't sweat profusely or get cold, and then I can also work out in them if I want to.
Mhm.
Besides that, I really like the Mayo edge control.
Mhm. Mhm.
And what else? Trying to think, what's my Biola? I'm like, what's because I'm not a big product person.
Okay.
So
Okay.
edge control is something that I definitely will use.
Yeah.
But beyond that, I'm like a good old like wash your hair, like pull
Yeah.
some baby
And
powder
your
through it.
famous goddess locks, when you have your locks in, they're so pretty. I remember you
Thank
were doing an
you.
interview about like how you started to do the locks and now, and I know maybe someone was doing it obviously before you, but I associate now with the locks with you because you rock them
Thank
so
you.
well.
Thank you.
Now, if there were 5 items you had to put in your purse, you can only choose 5 items to put in your purse. What would they be?
Mm. My Tarte eyebrow pencil. My cell phone,
Okay, it's
because on
fair.
my cell phone, then you can have your credit card, your Bible,
Oh yeah, that's
your phone.
smart. All in one.
Um,
Okay.
my little Vaseline
Mm-hmm.
chapstick.
Mm-hmm. Two
Uh,
more.
um, I thought about something bad, but I don't know if I'm gonna share that.
Yeah, three.
But
But you know what you're smart to. I just thought about the phone because now you the cards because sometimes people say, well, like my cards are ready, but if you put them like Apple Pay, like if you put everything,
yeah, everything's on your phone, then you all good with it. I
yeah,
guess
no, because sometimes people are like I have to have more than five, and I'm like, nope, you only do five, but you named three, and I feel like you wrapped everything.
I kind of feel like too. Well, I'll take my blotting pads too.
Okay,
That
you'll
keeps your
take that.
skin nice and clean. The little Tatcha blotting pads. That
Mhm.
way you just don't break out.
And maybe your car keys because you got to go somewhere. So.
That's true, but nowadays you can put your car keys on your phone.
Oh yeah, that's right. You and your phone, you're like, oh yeah, I'm putting everything on this phone.
I'll put
Charge
everything up, but I know I'm wrong. I need to say my charger.
charger. That's
What you
true.
gonna
That's a
do
good
with
one.
all that
That's a good
phone
one.
power and you
Yeah,
ain't got
if
no
it goes
charger?
down, what are you gonna do? Okay, those are good 5. Now, before we close out, I did want to. I ran this past Megan. You know that some people have already supported honor culture, but we want to make sure they're going to support even more. So check out the site for what's in stock, weekly, daily. Support her. If you buy something from honor culture and you email us a receipt, we will give you a special discount on our platform. Our platform has professional resources, some free, some affordable, for women that are starting businesses, needing help with their career. We have, courses on how to do a business, how to do your trademark, how to do copyright. I'm also a lawyer, so I understand lawyers are expensive. You want to down one of our contract template forms. You don't have to hire a lawyer for a contract. We have all sorts of things and resources for women. So If you have not already supported Honor Culture, please support Megan and Jonathan. If you email us to receive, we'll give you a special discount off of something that you can also get on our resource platform. Is there anything else you want to tell the audience that like right now you're supporting that they should look out for? Like anything you're in. I mean, I know we have Honor Culture. I know we
Mm,
talked about the Good Girl Raps. So is there
yeah.
anything else, any cause that you support, like anything that they should be on the lookout for to check
Support
into?
and protect Jasmine Crockett. You know, pay
Yeah,
attention to what's going on. I know it's a time where we actually want to check out because it's just emotionally overwhelming.
a lot.
But that's
Mhm,
that's the goal, is for it to be emotionally overwhelming. And I think that we do have to be present and do what we can do, with understanding that we can't fix it all, by
mhm.
ourselves or individually, just doing what we can do and chipping away a little bit every day and being present. Um, because this will be a time that'll be remembered in history forever, and we'll have to ask ourselves, what role did we play, while
Mhm,
understanding we can't play every role, but
mhm,
being intentional. So,
mhm, mhm. I love that. And yes, like I said, check out on Black Glorious Podcast. We have some clips of Megan speaking again. She's this Hollywood actress. She could just be living her life and not thinking about politics or anything like that. But she takes the time to use her platform for good, pun intended. And she advocates. So that is something she can, add the many, many adjectives of who she is. Like you said, she's not just one thing, which I think is very beautiful about her. And we're just so happy you were able to just take a few minutes to speak with our audience today. If you're listening to us, we're on every major platform. If you're watching us, it's on YouTube. So definitely share this episode with a friend, support Honor Culture, support legallyfab.com. And as always, until next time, everyone, enjoy your fab life. Take care, everyone.